Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in again for another crochet video with me. And in this video, you will be able to learn how to crochet this cute little gingerbread man pouch that is half a plushie and half a pouch. You will also be able to learn how to attach the arms and the legs as well as a continuous shape to the head, all the way to the head. This piece doesn't require any sewing except for the button at the back. You will also learn how to create these cute little scarf and hats in two different styles. So if you're ready, grab your yarn and your hook. Let us get started. For today's project, the main colors that you'll be needing is the brown color. You can also choose a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, or even like a caramel brown color. This is also a very nice color to make the project in. And you can choose to change different colors for the scarf and the hat. For this video, I'll be using the red and the white for the scarf and the hat. The thickness of my yarn that I'll be using for today is 3mm and 5-ply yarn. And I will be using the 4mm crochet hook for, I would say, the best result, because I did try it with 3.5mm crochet hook. The product turned out to be a little bit too snug for the earphone case to fit in. You can go a little bit bigger, like 4.5mm, then it will just give you more of a loose, soft effect. Then you need some yarn needle, or a yarn needle and a thread needle for very tiny stitching for the button, and also a button of your choice, some stitch markers, and plastic eyes. The plastic eye size that I'll be using for today is 8mm. You can also choose bigger ones or smaller ones, it's up to you. And finally, just some stuffing cotton for the head of this project. If you've got your tools ready, then let us get started. We first start by making two legs for the gingerbread man. So to start, we are first going to do a magic ring with 5 single crochets in it. This is how I normally do the magic ring. If you have any other ways of your choice, you can also do it. So let's make 5 single crochets. So that is 1, then you put the yarn tight. For my project, I usually do the slip stitch method. If you want to do the continuous or the spiral method, you can also do it. But to do the slip stitch join, just remember after each round, you join back to the first stitch of each round, and you do a slip stitch. That is what you call a slip stitch join. And also remember to start of each round, just chain 1 to start for single crochet, and if you want to do double crochet, then you chain 2. So for round 2, we will be doing 5 increases for round 2. Therefore, chain 1 to start, and then we will do 5 increase. So that's your first stitch. And if you are not familiar with the slip stitch method, or you do the spiral method, always mark your first stitch. And then we do an increase, which is the same stitch. You make 2 crochets in the same stitch. That's an increase. And then you will just do increase for the rest of the round. That is end of round 2. And chain 1 to start with round 3. Round 3, we will be doing 1 single crochet and 1 increase as a set, and repeat that for 5 times. Let's start with a single crochet, place your marker, and then in the next stitch do an increase. And you will repeat that as a set for another 4 times. That's the end of round 3. Chain 1 to start. From round 4 to round 8, very easy. You are just going to do single crochets for each round. For round 4 to round 8, we are just going to do 15 single crochets for each round. And that is the end of round 8 for the leg. At the last stitch, don't join back to the first stitch. Instead, chain 1 and pull your yarn to just a short length. And sorry, I forgot that you also need scissors for every project. And that is one leg done. We will join the legs later on, therefore we leave this open for now. Then you will make 2 of the legs and you can leave it aside for now. Now we are going to make the arms for the gingerbread man. To start, we do a magic ring and we do 6 single crochet in this magic ring. And then after you do the 6 crochets, join back to the first stitch and do a slip stitch join. That's the end of round 1 for the arm. Start of round 2, chain 1 and do 6 increases in round 2. From round 3 to round 6, it's very easy. You are just going to do 12 single crochets in each round. Then for the last round, round 7, you are just going to do 1 single crochet and 1 decrease for 4 times. Chain 1 to start, and you first do a single crochet and then do a decrease. That is 1 set, and you'll just repeat that for the rest of the round. Once you are done with round 7, join back to the first stitch and do a slip stitch join. Pull the yarn through, leave a little tail, not too long. And that is 1 finished arm. And you will make 2 of the arms. After you make 2, then you can just leave them aside. Now we're going to make the inner base for the pouch that we're going to join the legs to. It's very similar to the other video that I made for the bear pouch with the star, where you can see on the top. To make the base, we're first going to start with 12 chains. So first do a slip knot and then you start with your chain. So 1, 2, then we're going to turn the chain like this, and you will start doing your first crochet in the second stitch of your chain. So on the top loop only, we are going to first do 10 single crochet across, and in the last chain, we are going to do 3 single crochets in the last chain. So let's start with the 10 single crochet. That is 1, after the 10 single crochet in the last stitch, do 3 single crochets into the one last stitch. That's 1, 2, and you'll notice that the chain would be turned upside down. Then on the bottom loop, now will be your top loop. Now we're going to do 9 single crochet across, and in the last chain we're going to do 2 single crochets. So here you also kind of need to be a little bit careful. So you have to check where have you stitched in. So this is the last chain, so now this would be the next chain that you go into. Then you do your first stitch, also hide the yarn. You can choose to cut it if you want, but I prefer hiding it. So that's 1 single crochet, 2, and now we're back in the first chain, or this chain here. Then you do 2 single crochet in this chain, and once you're done with that, then join back, remove the marker, and we join back to the first stitch of this round and pull tight. So that's the end of round 1 for the base. For round 2, chain 1 to start. For round 2, we are first going to do 1 increase and then 9 single crochet across, and around the edges, the 3 chains, we're going to do 3 increases and 9 single crochet across, and the last 2 increases. So let us start. Then join back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch join, and that's the end of round 2 for the base. Don't cut here because we are going to join the legs onto the base now. Once you're done with the base, we are going to start joining the legs. To join the legs, you first turn the base like this first, then fold it neatly. Take a marker and mark out where the middle point is. Then you just give it a quick mark. This is just to do the counting easier. So then that would be more or less the middle of the base. Then from the marker, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to this first stitch here. Then take out 1 leg. From where the last stitch is, you count also 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you just put a marker here. And then you align the base with the leg like this. And then just make sure that it is lining up properly. If you want to, you can also use a second marker and just mark the first one and the legs together like this. Remove this one so it's easier for you, and insert your hook. Then we are going to start joining the legs. So to join the legs, you will just do single crochet across, but remember also chain 1 to start. So we are joining this and this together. Therefore, insert your hook through both of them. After you insert the hook, sorry, not in hook, then you can remove the marker and you do a single crochet to join them together. If it's neatly aligned, you don't actually need to count them anymore. And then just do the second one. You can also keep your stitches a little bit loose here, so it's also much easier. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, and then remove the marker into the last stitch, and that's 7. So that's half of the first leg joined. Then from the next stitch, just take the other leg, the first stitch of the other leg, you align with the base, or what you can do is insert your hook into the first stitch of the leg and then insert into the next stitch on the base. That will also be much easier. And you can see the stitches align pretty nicely here. Then you continue joining the leg, and also don't forget to hide this piece of yarn here. After you join the first leg, then we are going to do the same for the other side of the other leg. Again, find the start of the other leg, which would be this stitch. Insert your hook through and then insert into the next stitch on the base. And then just continue with single crochets. That is the last stitch. Oh, and once you've done with that, then join back to the first stitch and pull tight. And then the legs are joined to the base. In the last stitch, it might be a little bit tricky. You kind of have to use some force to align the leg to the base and squeeze your hook through. But once you've done with that, then it's the one of the hardest part of this pattern is over. And you can also just cut these loose pieces in here. Be careful to not cut the yarn that you are using. And that is nicely joined. Now we're going to start with the body. For the body, it's pretty straightforward. This method, like I said, is very similar to the bear pouch that I created. It's just that this one is more snug, and we are going to do the head together with the body without sewing, as well as joining the arms without sewing. Therefore, there might be a few parts that it can get a little bit confusing. I hope not. For I have already adjusted the pattern as easy as it could be. But if you do have any other ways to join the arms or join the leg, then you're more than welcome to go for it. Okay, now let's start with the body. For the body from round 1 to 6, you are just going to do 30 single crochet for each round. After you've made 6 rounds of the body, if you've lost count, just count the legs first. The leg has got 8 rounds, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After the 8th round, this is the round where we join the body to the leg. So the one above that would be the first round of the body. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 rounds for the body. Then you just place a marker in anywhere on the first round, so it will be easier for you when you continue with the rounds, that you don't get confused on which round you are on. Now for round 7, we are going to make a little gap for you to be able to put your AirPod or EarPod case in. To do that, we're first going to do a single crochet in the first stitch, and then we are going to do chains. So we're going to leave some stitches open. So after the first single crochet, the size that I'm doing would be 12 chains. So you count 12 stitches after the first stitch. So after the first stitch, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then on the 13th stitch, just place a marker here. So you know after you do the 12 chains, you just join back here. Now let's do this. For round 7, chain 1 to start. Start with a single crochet, and then you do 12 chains. 12. After you've made 12 chains, join back to the marker here. So insert your hook in, then remove the marker if that's easier for you, and then just do a single crochet, and that is the little opening for the pouch. And then for the rest of the round, you will just continue with single crochets. For round 8, we are going to create a little loop here in about the middle of this chain here. Therefore, what we're going to do is, you can also first check more or less where is the middle. I would say is these 2 stitches here. Sorry. So these 2 stitches here. And what you can also do is just place a marker at the bottom loop, just to indicate where you need to make little chains here and join back. So we're going to work on the top loop of the chain, but first we're going to do a single crochet first, and then do on the top loop of the chain towards the stitch marker here. So that would be 1, 2, 3, So that's the sixth chain. You can remove the marker, and first you do a single crochet, then put the marker on that stitch. Then we're going to do 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It's up to you how long this loop that you want to make, depending on the size of the button that you choose. So after you make the chain, you can also just place the button, or just see if the button can go in and out easier. If it's too big, then you just reduce the chain count. If it's too small, then you just increase the chain count. So after you make 10 chain, then you join back to the next stitch, which is here. And you also just do a single crochet. After you do this stitch, just change the marker to this stitch. Okay, and then you just continue with single crochets. Here at the joining of the chain and the stitch, just do a normal single crochet through both loops, and you just continue with single crochets. For round 9, we are just going to do 30 single crochets, but when we reach here, I will also just show you how to join these two together. Let's start. Chain 1 to start, and then single crochets. For round 9, we are going to do 30 single crochets for this round. Chain 1 to start, and then let's just do single crochet all the way to this marker here. When you reach this marker, you can first remove it, or you can first insert your hook in if it makes it easy for you. So once you remove the marker and you do a single crochet in this stitch, after you do the single crochet, then you skip to the next marker here. So just for in case, insert your hook in first, remove the marker, and then you do a single crochet. I ran out of yarn, so now it may look a little bit messy here, but just do a single crochet. And that's how you close the little hole here by this loop. And then you just continue with single crochet for the rest of the round. Once you're done with round 9, we are going to do round 10. And round 10 is the round where we are going to join the arms onto the body. To join the arms, it might be a little bit tricky, with stitch counting. So I'm not going to tell you how many stitches. I can give you an estimate. The reason why is that if you do the slip stitch method, sometimes the stitch might be a little bit to the side or sometimes to that side. Mine is a little bit to the left, which is more towards the back side. So for this side, the arms where I'm going to join, I will be joining onto the last 2 stitches here on the side where the slip stitch is. But on the other side, you have to estimate where you want the arms to be. You just need to make sure that it is kind of aligning with this side. The best way to check that is to look from the top, and you just kind of use your eyes to estimate where you want the arms to be. So I would say if this side is here, I would say it is these 2 stitches here. So once you find out where you want to place the arms, just put the marker here on the stitches, just to so you know, okay, when you reach here, then you need to join the arms here, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. But if your stitch count is different than mine, it's okay. You just need to find out where you want to place the arms. Then let's start. For round 10, it's just single crochets, so just do single crochets until we reach the mark. Once you've reached the marker here, take any of the arms, and then I usually start joining where the slip stitch is, so it's easier for me to know where is you know, the start and the end of the stitch count of the arm. So what you're going to do is take one of the arm and then insert your hook from the inside out of the arm, and then it can get a little bit tricky. And then here you can first insert your hook into the first stitch marker, and then remove the stitch marker, and then you pull the yarn through both the arm and the body. Then you, like that, you join the arms onto the body. And then for the rest of the round on the arm, you just do single crochet all the way around. So you're actually joining the first stitch of the round to the body. Then you should have 7 stitches left on the arm. Then let's just do single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have reached the last stitch of the arm. Here again, from the inside of the arm, poke your hook through and then insert into the second stitch where the marker is. And then you pull the yarn through, and you just do a single crochet. That is how you can join the arm onto the body without sewing. If you have any other methods, you can also use it. Just make sure that, you know, the stitch count is an even number and it's easier for you to do decreases when we shrink the pattern of the body. Then for the rest of the body, you just do single crochet across all the way to the last 2 stitches. So you do single crochets up to here. So again, we are encountering the last 2 stitches, and so we are just going to do the same method as earlier. But again, if you want to make sure that you insert into the right stitch, you can also just mark it first, so you don't actually poke through other stitches. Then you take up the other arm, just shove this in. You can also stuff it if you want to. I choose not to because it just makes it look more loose and flappy. And then, so again, take up the arm from the slip stitch on the inside, insert your hook through like that, and then with this stitch marker, insert your hook into the stitch where the first stitch marker is. Remove the stitch marker, but pull your yarn tight also, so then it doesn't get too loose. And then pull the yarn through, and then that is the first join. And then again you do and in the last stitch of the arm, from the inside to the outside, and then here we only got 1 stitch left. You just insert your hook into the last stitch, pull the yarn through, so you have 2 loops on your hook, and then just pull the yarn through. That is how I join the arms without sewing. And after you've done that, just do a slip join back to the first stitch of the round, pull tight, and we are done with the joining of the arm. Very simple, very easy. For round 11, we are going to do 5 single crochets and 1 decrease as a set, and repeat that for 6 times. Remember, start of each round, chain 1, and you first do 5 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5. And after you do 5 single crochet, you do a decrease. That's 1 set, and you'll repeat that for the rest of the round. When you reach the arms, just do decreases as normal. The last stitch, we do a decrease. It may be a little bit difficult to just squeeze the hook through the last decrease, and then join back to the start, and that is the end of round 11. Then for round 12, you are just going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, and 2 single crochets as a set, and repeat that for 6 times. Chain 1 to start, so that's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then a decrease, and and then 2 more single crochet. That is the first set, and you will just repeat that for the rest of the round. As you can see, after you finish with round 12, the arms are nicely joined, and also it shrinks to smaller size, so it doesn't look like a big blob here, and it looks like it's got little shoulders. Yeah. And then number 13, the pattern is 3 single crochets and 1 decrease. Repeat that for 6 times. Chain 1 to start. 1, 2, and 3, and then you just do a decrease. That is 1 set, and you'll repeat that for the rest of the round. Once you're done with round 13, now is the point where we need to, in a way, close this little hole here. The pattern that I'm doing, I am going to create a flat round head continuously with the body, so there's no sewing. But because there's we need to stuff cotton in the head, so we need a little base here to stop the cotton from going into the bottom. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work, right? And to do that, we are going to make a little base that we will join here, similar to the way that we join the leg to the body. And so let's do that. To make the base for the head, we first going to do 12 chains. It's very similar to when you make the base of the body. So 1, 'After you make 12 chains, then you start from the second chain, and you do 10 single crochet all the way across. 1, 'So it's very similar to the base of the body. And in the last stitch, you do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And your chain will be turning like this. And then in the other side, we are also going to do single crochets across, and in the last chain do 2 single crochet into the last chain. So we'll do 9 single crochets across, and the last 2 chain just do 2 single crochet into that one. And then 2 single crochet in the, well, technically the first chain. And then after you've done that, then just do a slip stitch join. And pull tight. That is the small little base that we are going to stitch into the body. And leave a little tail, not too long, and you can just cut it. Now we are going to join this base onto this little hole here. And to do that is very similar to how we join the leg to the base of the body. The only I would say confusing part, or the difficult part, would be the first stitch. And as usual, you chain 1 first, then you take the first stitch of this base piece here, and what you do is you actually insert into the first stitch of the body or the neck area here, and then you insert into the base of the neck, and then align it properly, pull through, and just do a single crochet. And then for the rest, you just do single crochet. Just make sure that you line up the stitches neatly, so it's easier for you to insert your hook through. And you just continue with single crochets. So in total for the neck, it should only be 24 stitches. Once you join up the base, again do a slip stitch back to the first stitch, pull tight, and that is the end of the body with the neck. Once you have done joining the little base onto the neck area, we are done with the body. I like to design patterns that require less sewing because I don't like sewing. If you watch my previous videos, you would know I kind of suck at sewing. I'm sorry. And so I try to design things that is all in one piece. And the reason why I keep the base like a flat oval shape is because I am going to create a head. Instead of a round head like a ball, I want it to look like a flat cushion round head. Therefore this pattern is kind of important to this head structure. For the head of the gingerbread man, what we are going to do is we are going to increase on the side here. The pattern will be as follows. So you will do 1 increase for the first round of the head. You will do 1 increase, 9 single crochets, 3 increases, 9 single crochets again, and 2 more increases. Then let's start. That is start, and let's do the first increase. That is 1 increase, and then you will do 9 single crochet across. And once you do 9 single crochets here by the edge, the 3 stitches, we are going to do 3 increases. And that's 1, that's the 3rd increase. And then you'll do 9 single crochet across and do last 2 stitches, 2 increases into the last 2 stitches. And then join back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch, and that's the end of round 1 for the head. After you make the first round of the head and you don't want to confuse yourself, just place a marker, hook it through. Anyway, just any. There we go. Then you know that is the first round of the head. And then for round 2 of the head, we are going to do 1 increase, 12 single crochets, 3 increases, 12 single crochets, and 2 increases. Now for round 3 for the head, the pattern is 1 increase, 15 single crochets, 3 increases, 15 single crochets, and 2 more increases. Then chain 1 to start. For round 4, you are just going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. Chain 1 to start as usual, and you just do single crochets for this round. For round 5 of the head, you can first flip to the front side and then do some markings quickly. We are going to create like a mouth here, but the way I'm going to do it is that we can crochet onto the face instead of sewing it on. Therefore, we are going to first place some markers to see where we want the mouth to be. You can decide whether you want it wider or narrower. I would say usually 12 stitches should be fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I would say 12. So find the middle part of the face and also in proportion to the body. Then see how wide of a smile you want your gingerbread man to have, and then you place the marker where you want the smile to start, but mark it in the front loop only. And then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then on the 12th marker, or on wherever, how many counts that you have, then place the other marker also in the front loop only. For round 5, the stitch count may differ from people. What you're going to do is just do single crochets all the way around until you reach here where the marker is. And then from where the marker is, you are going to crochet in the back loop all the way across till this stitch, and then just do normal single crochet for the rest of the round. Okay, so let's just do the single crochets first until we get there. Once you've reached where your marker is, you can remove it so it's out of your way, and then do single crochets in the back loop only all the way till where the next marker is. And then the 12th stitch, and that's 12 stitches. And then in the next stitch, just do normal single crochets. And then this is where we are going to crochet the mouth in later. For round 6, what you can do is from where you made the mouth, just place the markers in the front loop, so you know when you reach here you also just do the back loop for these stitches here, and you do single crochet all the way around, back loop into these stitches, and then single crochet, normal single crochet to finish the round. Then let's start. So just do single crochet until you reach where the markers is. And here when you reach the marker, remove the marker and just do single crochet in the back loop for 12 stitches. And then that's the 12 single crochet, and then after that just continue with normal single crochets. As you can see, you leaving the front loop stitch open, so later when you want to crochet in the mouth, what you do is you insert your hook through like this, and then you can actually crochet things onto the face instead of sewing it on. Now for the rest of the face, let's continue with round 7 till round 10. From round 7 to round 10, quick and easy, you just do 42 single crochets for each round. Now we are done with round 10 for the head. We are going to start crocheting the lips. You can choose different colors than mine. I chose red because I kind of had the gingerbread man from Shrek in mind, and he had like a pinkish red lips. You can also use white, like frosting type of look, but I'm going to use red. You can also choose like a lighter red. This is more like a darker red because I'm using more like a burnt brown, like a burnt cookie brown look, and it goes well with like a darker tint red, but it's up to you. Here, remember, he's not going to feel any pain, so just pinch it. Insert your hook into the first loop where you left the front loop open, and then you hook the yarn through like this. Pinch the short end tight and also keep tension on your yarn. Chain 1, and then in the first loop again you do an increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and that is an increase. And then for the rest of the loops you are just going to do single crochets across, and on the last loop here you do another increase. And let's continue. Once you do a few crochets, you can also just pull this yarn a little bit tighter, so then it doesn't show so much here in the corner. And you can choose to hide the yarn for the rest of the stitch, or you can cut it after you do 5 or 6 crochet with this piece here. and then you just continue. And in the last stitch you do an increase. And then once you're done with this side, turn your work and pinch the other side. And insert your hook through and do another increase. And then do single crochet all the way around till the end. You do an increase again and join back. Do a slip stitch, join back to the first stitch here. And so let's continue. And after you're finished with that, you join, or sorry, I forgot to mark, but remember this is the first chain, that's not a stitch. You join back. Okay, let me show you again. That's the first chain we made, that is the first stitch. Then you join back to the first stitch, pull tight, and then you can leave a little longer piece, I would say like so, and then cut. If you want to, you can also make 2 layers. I tried it with 2 layers, it just looked too thick. I don't really like it. It looks kind of strange if it's too big. So I think one round of single crochet is good enough. And if you want it to look like a smiley face, normally you don't actually have to do it anything, it already has a smiley face. But if you want a smiley face, then you can use this little piece of string and just stitch it. Let's quickly do that. And what you do is just stitch the corner a little bit up. So then it lifts upwards. And then you just wrap your yarn through to the other side. Hook out from the other side. And then just to the corner. And a little bit up, and then that's it. Just stretch your yarn first before you secure it, and also just adjust the lips. And that's the red lip. You can kind of just ignore this in here because we are going to stuff it with cotton. That's not going to show on the outside, but not too tight. Okay. Just secure it so it doesn't go anywhere. And again, just make sure that everything looks fine. And there is the little red lip. You can choose to not sew it. It automatically does have like a smiley look. But if you want to, that's just a quick way of doing it. Once the lips are in, you can just leave it. And we'll do one more round before we put the eyes in. You don't want to place it too high also, because then we are going to start shrinking the shape of the head. So you want the eyes to be more or less in the middle. So we do one more round and we'll place the eyes in. And for round 11, the pattern is 1 decrease, 15 single crochets, 3 decreases, 15 single crochet, and 2 more decreases. So let's start. So the first stitch is a decrease, and then 15 single crochets across. After you do 15 single crochet, then you are going to do 3 decreases in a row. That's 1 decrease, 2 decrease, and the third one. And then just do single crochet for 15 stitches more. And then the last 4 stitches, you are just going to do 2 decreases. Oh my goodness. That's 1 decrease and then another one. And then join back to the first stitch. And that is the end of round 11. As you can see, after round 11, the head is starting to curve inward. I wouldn't recommend that you do decrease rounds for like continuously, because it becomes narrow. The head becomes narrow. So what I do is, for the next round, we are going to do single crochets all the way across. So that would be 36 single crochet for round 12. And that's the end of round 12. For round 13, we are going to do 1 decrease, 12 single crochets, 3 decrease, 12 single crochets, and 2 decrease. And then in total, the stitch count would be 30. Let's start. Chain 1 to start, and the first stitch is a decrease. And then you will just continue with the pattern. At the end of round 13, now we can insert the eyes, because you need to click the eyes in, so you don't want the opening to be too small before you do that. Then check where you want the eyes to be. You can place it in first and see the height and just check. I think that's fine. Yeah. So from the corner of the mouth, just 1 in and then 2 up. Well, if you want to count the holes. Yeah, okay. And so from the corner of the mouth and 2 up. No, this one is too much in the middle. Here. Then that's a very cute little look. You can also use smaller eyes or bigger eyes. I wouldn't recommend bigger eyes because I have bigger eyes and they look very, very strange. Let me just find them. Hang on. I have this, I think it's 10 millimeters. It really look strange if the eyes are too big. Oh, actually it looks cute with one big eye and one small eye. But you can always just play around with it and see what size of eyes you like. Yeah, I don't know, the big eyes just doesn't do it for me. So I don't want the big eyes, I want the smaller eyes. Then you just insert the eyes. You can also try smaller, but smaller, the eyes kind of look too tiny. Hang on, I also have small eyes. But I don't think the smaller eyes will work. Let me just see. So these are the 6mm eyes. You can also, sorry for the mess, you can also just place them in and check if you prefer smaller eyes. It's all up to you. I think smaller eyes look better than the bigger one. So 6mm or 8mm, depending on your liking. I prefer the 8, so I am going to use the 8mm. All you do is just insert the eyes in. Well, find the spot where you want to insert the eyes, place them in like this, and then flip it around. Use the cap, place the cap in, make sure that it clicks, and then just do the same for the other one. There we go. And the eyes are in. Now we can continue crocheting. Let me just put everything in. So once the eyes are in, let's continue with round 14. Round 14, quick and easy. You are just going to do 30 single crochets for round 14. We only have to do 2 more rounds and we are done with the gingerbread. And for round 15, the pattern is 1 decrease, 9 single crochets, 3 decreases, and 9 single crochets. Chain 1 to start. Oh, sorry. The first is a decrease. And then so do a, oh my goodness, decrease. There we go. So that's 1 decrease, and you'll do 9 single crochets, 3 decrease, 9 single crochet, 2 decreases. And I will see you there. And that's the end of round 15. After the 15th round, let's quickly stuff the little head. So you take some cotton, small pieces, and you place them into the cheek first. Squish them around. Just make sure that you get the stuffings evenly into the head. For the last round, the pattern is 1 decrease, 6 single crochets, 3 decreases, 6 single crochets, and 2 more decreases. Chain 1 to start, and you do your first decrease, and then 6 single crochets. So once you're done with the last round, after you do the slip stitch, just pull the yarn through, leave a decent length because we are going to close the hole at the top. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. There we go. Now it look like a cone shaped, but what we're going to do, we're going to basically use the closing of the hole and squish it down so it looks round. And now let's just close this top here. To close the head, remember, skip one into the next loop, skip one into the next loop, skip one into the next. Before you fasten off, just make sure that the tip of the head is nice and firm. So I am just going to squeeze more cotton in here, place them evenly, maybe a little bit more. So do it in small pieces, you don't have to, rush. And after you squeeze it, if it comes out a little bit, I would say that would be the perfect amount. And so after you're happy with the stuffing, then you can pull the yarn tight to close the hole at the top. And there is your gingerbread man. Then what you can do now is sew in or hide the rest of the yarn in, but you also don't want the loop to open. So what you can also do here is you just stitch the top. So then you hide that little opening if you don't like it. Just hide it. And when you squeeze, it doesn't open on top because the round is kind of wide. So when you pull the yarn tight, it might leave a bigger opening, but after you do that, then you shouldn't see it. And then you just hide the yarn to the back of the head. What I like to do is also don't pull too tight because then it gets sunken in. You basically follow the groove of the yarn and you just go back in, and you can just poke through any way out, not too tight, and also squeeze it a little bit so then you don't really see that stitch. And then you just hide a few more times. Just do that and you don't really see the stitch. After you've done that, just cut the yarn and use the end of your needle and stick that little piece of yarn in. And there is your gingerbread. There we go. There's the basic shape of the gingerbread man. And like I said, it's perfect for you basically bend it forward and you can push your earphone case in, and now he's nice and full. The length that I created should be long enough for Airpods as well. As you can feel, there is some gap here still. Once you put the case in, is nice and snug and it will look like a plushie. And if you just adjust the head shape, there is a nice flat cushiony round head for the gingerbread. Cool, so the basic shapes are done. Then we are just going to make a scarf and a little hat for him. Then we are finished with this project. To start making the scarf, we are first going to do 6 single crochets into a magic ring. After you finish with round 1, we are going to start with the next round. Then we are going to start doing double crochets for each round. You are just going to repeat that until you reach the length that you want for the scarf, and we also need to change colors where needed. But remember to start with double crochet for each round. After you do the slip stitch, you add 2 more chains to start. And so after you add 2 chains, then you can start with your first double crochet. And after you make your first double crochet, remember to mark it. However, if you get confused or you get lost or you forgot to mark it, for double crochet, the start of each round, you from this tiny little slip stitch, you just count 1, 2, and then the third stitch. That would be your first stitch of the round. Okay? And then you just continue with double crochets. So before you end your last stitch, after you do the first 2 loops, you leave the last 2 loops on your hook. And then we are going to change colors. Before you want to change color for double crochet, you just leave the last stitch open. And then you bring in the color that you want to change. But you need to also keep tension of your yarn. Then you just hook the other color through, and then you do a slip stitch join back to the first stitch. But again, keep the tension of your yarn tight, and then pull tight. There is the color changed. And then to do the first crochet, always just crochet in this little piece of the yarn that you left behind. To start with the next round, then you just do your crochet as usual. For double crochets, chain 2 to start, and then you do your first stitch. And if you also get confused easily with double crochets, just mark your first stitch. And then you just do the second stitch. And then 1 more. And again, just change the colors. This one, it's already stitched in, so when only the first time when you change colors, it might be a little bit difficult, but then afterwards it just become easier and easier. And then after you've done that, go back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch, and then that is how you change the colors of your yarn for each round. You can also do like maybe two rows of double crochet, 2 rounds of double crochet, and then 1 double crochet for other colors. or you can change in between each round. It's all up to you. And after that, you just continue with double crochet until you reach the round that you want. Sorry, until you reach the length that you want, then you can stop. When you reach your last stitch in the last round, just finish your last stitch and then do a slip stitch back to the first stitch, and then you can leave some yarn. I would say leave like a decent length, because well, we need to do a little bit, not to say sewing, I don't think this is sewing. And you can also cut this piece in here and stuff it in a little bit. Then you take your yarn needle and just close the loop here. You can choose to close it or you don't need to, because what you can do is the first scarf that I'm showing you is what you do is you can actually sew the end like a little loop back to any stitch or any thickness that you want. Normally it should be thick enough for the scarf to go through. Then you can create a scarf like this, so you don't really need sewing, and also it's removable from the pouch. So if you don't like this, you can remove it. If you do like it, you can just put it on, depending on your own liking. And then I will also show you how to make this little ball here and how to attach it onto the end of your scarf. So now let's do the little ball quickly. To make the little ball that you can attach to the end of your scarf, what you do is you can take a, I would say, quite a decent length of yarn and just place it in between your index and middle finger. And then what you do is take some yarn and pinch it in the middle finger. Then you just start wrapping the yarn around your finger. I would say about 20 times. If you do want like a bigger fluffy ball, then you can wrap more. I wouldn't suggest too much, because then it might become loose and difficult for you to work with. So depending on how big you want it, then just loop it around a few times. The more you loop, the more fluffier and chubbier the ball becomes. Then after you've done that, okay, actually do that. After you've done that, then you take the string, you pull to the front, and then you wiggle your pinch here tightly first. Then you wiggle your fingers out, and then just tie the knot in between them. And then I also tie it double. Just tie it again. And after you pull tight, then you pinch it tight. After you've done that, then you just take the scissors, go through the loop here, and you cut them open. And you do the same for the other side. If it's too long, you can also cut now. So like this is not fluffy enough. To make it fluffy, this is the time-consuming part of this bowl. So what you have to do now is actually separate each and every single piece of this yarn. The simpler way is to actually twist the opposite side of how the yarn is going, and you just loosen them. Or what you can do is just pinch between your fingers and just pull open. So you have to do that for all these yarns. There we go. Once you've separated all the tiny little bits and pieces, then you have a nice fluffy ball, but it looks very messy. So what you do now is, depending on what kind of surface that you're working on, I'm working on a fabric surface, so it would be hard for me if I get fluff onto it. It's difficult for me to clean, so use something just to catch all the little fluffs that you're going to be trimming off. Then you take your little fluffy ball and you just start trimming it. Then once your little ball is done, then you can attach it onto your little scarf. What I usually do is that I take the piece of the yarn that we use to tie up the ball, take one side and then just attach it to your needle. Then what you do is, this piece you can also choose to sew it onto the ball, but just make sure that the colors match. But here is the white side. I don't want the white side, so what I do is we'll just weave that in later. So once you've attached your ball onto your needle, then just go into one of the stitch and pull through. Then use this other piece here and just tie it onto the scarf. This is the lazy way of doing it. It works. If you have any other ways, then you're more than welcome to use it. After you've tied it down, then you just weave the yarn back into the scarf. To weave it in, and also you don't want it to be loose, then what you can do is just, it's like sewing into your stitch. And there is the quick way of attaching the ball onto the scarf. There might still be some fluffs, but just clean it up. There we go. That's a little hair, fluffy ball on the end of the scarf. You can also make different variation of the scarf in different color. Here I made one with red and green, so it looks Christmassy. You can make it shorter with 2 little balls in the end, and afterwards what you can do is just sew it on like this if you want it to be on your gingerbread man permanently, or you can actually sew it loose in the middle here, and you can also just remove it and change to different scarf if you want. So this is just a little variation of different style of the scarf. I think this one is also cute if you do it like this. Okay, and now I will show you how to make a little Christmas hat like this that you can also put it on or sew it onto your little gingerbread man. For the little hat, we are first going to start with 9 chains. One, two, after you've made 9 chains, then we are going to start with the 3rd chain, and we are going to from the 3rd chain you are going to do 6 double crochet all the way across until you reach the end, the last chain. Then you're going to do 3 double crochet into the last chain. So start from the 3rd. And in the last chain, do 3 double crochet into the last chain. That is 1, 2, and 3. Then you turn your work like this. And now you are going to do 5 double crochet across, and back to the 1st chain you'll do 2 double crochets into the 1st chain. Then you start so the last stitch here, before you finish, we are going to change color again. Then you take out the other color that you want and hook the yarn through. Remember to keep tension on the yarn. Then join back to the 1st stitch. Pull tight. That is the end of round 1. For round 2 of the hat, you are going to do 1 double crochet increase, 5 double crochets, 3 double crochet increase, 5 double crochets again, and 2 more double crochet increases. Chain 2 to start when you do double crochet stitches. Then pull the white yarn and hide it when you crochet the first few stitches. And then another increase, but before you finish the last stitch, we are going to change color again. So leave the 2 loop on your hook and take out the red yarn that's already attached. Hook it through and then join back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch, and that is the end of round 2. From round 3 to round 4, you will just do 22 double crochets and also just change colors in between. And also remember, always chain 2 to start. So then for round 3, you just do double crochet all the way across. For round 5, we are going to do it in single crochets. The pattern is 1 increase, 8 single crochets, 3 increases, 8 single crochets, and 2 more increase. But for the edge of the hat, you need to do it on the front loop only. So chain 1 to start, and then into the front loop. Front loop. This yarn, you can actually just cut it, or you just leave a little piece and hide it inside. So front loop, and then you do that increase first, and then you do 8 more single crochets in the front loop. And then 3 increases. That's 1, 2, and 3. That's 3 increases, and then 8 more single crochets. And for round 6, we are going to do 1 increase, 11 single crochets, 3 increases, 11 single crochets, and 2 more increases. And that is the end of round 6. You can check the edge of the hat. If you like it shorter like this, then you can stop here, but I want it to be a little bit wider, so I'm going to add 1 more round. For round 7, the pattern is 1 increase, 14 single crochets, 3 increases, 14 single crochets, and 2 more increases. Then let's start. So and when you're done with round 7, join back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch, pull the yarn through, and you can cut. Then you can just weave in this end piece of string. Also just stretch your hat a little bit. Because of the front loop, it might be, some people's strengths are not even like me. It might look like very loose in some parts, so just stretch your work a little bit. And then after you hide the yarn in, and that is the little hat that you can use to pin it or sew it onto your little gingerbread man. If you want to sew it, then you just sew it on the inside onto the head directly. But if you want to sometimes, remove the hat, then I would suggest actually use a very tiny, I think it's called safety pins, then that you open and then you just pin it on like this. Or if you want it on the other side all straight. I don't know why, but I like things that looks a little bit skew. I think it looks cute like this, but it's all up to you. So this is one of the hats. Now we are going to make another hat. To make the little beanie, we are first going to start with 6 single crochets in a magic ring. For round 2, you are going to do 6 double crochet increase. So before you finish with your last stitch, leave it open. If you want to change the colors, here is where you change the color. If you don't, if you want to make the hat in one color and then the edge where you fold in a different color, you can also do that. Then just loop your yarn through, keep tension, and then go back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch join, and that's the end of round 1 with a changed colored yarn. Then for round 3, okay, just sort out your yarn also before you start, so then it doesn't get all tangled up. For round 3, you are going to do 1 double crochet and 1 increase as a set, and you repeat that for 6 times. Chain 2 to start, and then just loop these loose tiny short yarns also behind it, and then you just crochet them in, and then we do an increase after the 1 double crochet, and this is an increase. Then you will repeat that for the rest of the round. Again, at the end of the round, just change your color if you want. It's the same way as how we make the scarf. And then join back to the first stitch, do a slip stitch. That is the end of round 3. For round 4, you are going to do 2 double crochets and 1 double crochet increase as a set, and you repeat that for 6 times. So let's chain 2 to start. Leave this yarn aside, and then you do 2 double crochet first and then an increase. And that is 1 set, and you will just repeat that for the rest of the round. And towards the end of round 4, just change your yarn color. Join back to the first stitch, slip stitch, pull tight. And that's the end of round 4. For round 5, you are going to do 3 double crochets, 1 increase, and repeat that for 6 times. And then change color before you finish the last stitch of this round. After you change color, join back to the first stitch, slip stitch, end of round 5. For round 6, you are going to do 4 double crochets and then 1 increase, and repeat that for 6 times. And for round 6, you can just join back to the first stitch and close it. I'm going to extend this a little bit longer so we can actually fold it up. I don't want to make it into red because if I fold it up, then it's going to cover or overlap this red. I want it to look, you know, separate colors. So I'm going to do one more round of the white, but with a bigger size, so it goes over the edge nicely. Therefore, for the final round, we are going to do 5 double crochets and 1 increase as a set, and you repeat that for 6 times. And after you've finished with the last round, you can first check if you like this effect. So fold the last round upwards and then place it over the little gingerbread man, and you check if you like this effect. If you don't like it, then you can also change it to single crochets, but I think this size actually look nice. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. So after you've done the last round, just also cut a short piece. You can also weave this in, just leave a little decent length. Once you're done with the hat, you can also just attach a little furry ball here, and there is a little Christmas hat or Christmas beanie for your little gingerbread. It's up to you. You can sew it on or you can just use a safety pin. Normally a safety pin, you do get a very small one, but I'm just going to use this for now. So what you can do is just attach your safety pin. This is just an indication, and then you just hook it into the head like that. It's also up to you if you want to change the size of the hat to your liking. I think tinier hat makes it look cute because I also don't want to cover up his face so much. And I also prefer it more onto the side if I have to, you know, put the hat on. And then you can just put on the little scarf. And there is your little gingerbread man. If you think the hat is too much, you can also just remove it and leave it with just the scarf. So once the button is sewed in, then this project is done. As you can see, you can make them into different color variations and mix and match the different accessories if you like. If you want a rounder and fuller head, just stuff it more with cotton. If you enjoy making this crochet project as much as I do, please don't be shy to leave me a comment below. I would love to hear from you, and also I would love to hear any suggestions that you have, so I can get some inspiration for my next project. Tell me if you like more plushie or just a pouch, or even something that you would like me to try and create or design that can be useful to you. Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my future projects. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and have a wonderful Christmas. I will see you next time. Enjoy. Bye bye.